Well, just about good morning, everybody, just prior to midday, and welcome to Donington Park. Welcome back to Donington Park if you're joining us again. This time, it is the one and only race this weekend for the MSVT Trackday Trophy. A lot of returning drivers from the Trackday Trophy and the MSVT Trackday Championship, for which we saw yesterday, and a lot of drivers from the Enduro Car Series, which still have a 5-hour race to get underway later on today, are jumping in as well. It's weird to say, we are going racing for the penultimate time of the weekend, and we're not even at lunch break on the Sunday as of yet. Mark Rowell joining myself in the commentary box, and Trackday Championship, Trackday Trophy, you always end up with a brilliant dynamic of cars, which you'd never expect to see racing against each other, battling it right out for 45 minutes.
And it's the range of different manufacturers, so Volkswagen, BMW, Renault, Lotus, Toyota, Porsche. That's just the front 6 cars on the grid. You've then got Fords and Hondas and Citroens and Mazdas and Minis, Ginettas, Renaults. The list just goes on and on and on and on. Huge variety. Always good fun to watch as well. Classes split in reality by power to weight ratio.
It is indeed. So Charlie Paul lines up in pole position, with Michael Rawlings alongside. It's the Livesey and Lake pairing in the Lotus Elise that start on row 2 with Wayne Cockrell alongside. The Rice and Allett pairing in the Porsche 944 line up alongside the Phil Hart and James Hart driven Honda Civic. It is then George Wright in the Citroen Saxo VTS that will line up alongside David Zakrzewski. On the next row back, it's Kamal Khalsi and Aidan Hills in their Mazda MX-5. They will line up alongside the number 35 Algar Racing Shane Rowe and Colin Murphy. Colin Wells and Damien Shrupchalski make up row 6. Row 7 of the grid is 141. The Reed pairing, Chris and Luke Reed in the Mini Cooper. They have Tommy Valentine alongside Stephen Orrent and David Griffiths that make up row 8. Row 9 is Trevor Hurrell and Chris Stone. On row 10 of the grid, it is Nico and Alex Stott in their Mazda MX-5. They have Andy Burton alongside. It's then Martin Adams and Andrew Thompson on row 11 of the grid with the Brace and Ratford pairing alongside, followed then by Gilbert and Baldici pairing, car number 77 with Cameron McLean alongside. The car's still working their way around onto the grid, so we have a minute. Nick Maingoat in his Mazda MX-5, who had a wild ride down through the Craner curves in qualifying. He will start in 25th place with David Evans for company on row 13. Row 14 is Stuart Smith and Dominic Bowen. And on the 15th and penultimate row of the grid, actually, as we have a 10-second delay for a couple of cars, car number 116, Benjamin Payne and Adam Headley in their Mazda 2. Will line up alongside car number 83, Mike Fletcher and Alex Langston in their Mazda MX-5. A couple of rows back, and with a 10-second delay, it's Aaron Mullicky, car number 25 in the Honda Civic. So Aaron is in that car. I had it down as Jordan, so Aaron Mullicky will start the Honda Civic, potentially handing over to Jordan Mullicky, and then it's Michael McKeegan that will line up alongside in 36th place on row number 18, car number 19 in their Ford Fiesta. Because we know that Stuart Smith swapped over to a different car throughout the run-up to this event, so there's been a bit of shuffling in regards to drivers and their respective cars, but the field is aflood with Mazda MX-5s, which is nice to see, because you always end up with those that are at the very pointy end, those that fight it out in the mid-pack, and those towards the tail end. No matter where you put a Mazda MX-5, they're always racing each other.
Yes, we're going to have some good battles all the way through the order. Very colourful grid as well.
Yeah.
I think at the back of the grid with a 10-second penalty, Aaron Malarkey might be one to watch, because remember, in qualifying pace, he was 3rd quickest in qualifying, Aaron Malarkey, but put to the back of the grid for some sort of infringement, was it? Or what was the reasoning that he was placed to the back of the grid, himself and Michael McKeegan?
It was
non-compliance. Right.
Yeah.
We don't know the details of that non-compliance, but yeah, clearly non-compliance with something.
Whatever was supposed to be compliant wasn't.
Well done. Well done, Poirot.
This is why you bring me along. So they start towards the tail end of the order, but Aaron Malarkey in that Honda Civic, it's going to be very quick indeed, but the conditions are somewhat similar to what they qualified in. I would say, well, more rain has fallen, but the track has had more work put through it, so it may be somewhat different. Waiting on the green flag at the tail end of the order. Green flag is waved. Charlie Polk and Michael Rawlings on the front row of the grid. 5-second board already held aloft. The revs begin to rise as the red lights go on. Who's going to get the best start from the front? Will it be the BMW or will it be the Lotus Elise through the middle? What a brilliant start from the number 69, Neil Livesey and Stephen Lake Lotus Elise, right the way to the front, separated Michael Rawlings and Charlie Polk got a brilliant launch, but all of a sudden the power of Michael Rawlings tells on the brakes on the run in towards Redgate, manages to hold on to the lead for now, but the Lotus Elise trying to nick his way back up the inside. Charlie Polk, he's gone from pole position down to third.
Yeah, not the best of starts for Charlie Polk, but it's going to be Michael Rawlings who has retaken the lead over the Lotus Elise Series 2 that Neil Livesey shares with Stephen Lake. We've not got the starting drivers for this race, so we'll have to refer to the car as both driver names each time because we're not sure who's starting behind the wheel, but they're all safely through Redgate Corner and they're splashing their way down through the Craner curves and through the old hairpin at the moment. BMW leads Lotus, leads Volkswagen.
It does indeed. We'll keep an eye on the inroads of Aaron Malarkey and see where he works his way up to, because he started, as we said, with that 10-second delay off the very back of the grid, so he's got to overcome the delay first and then catch onto the coattails of that car up the road. We'll have to keep an eye on Damien Shrubchalski as well, a troubled qualifying there or thereabouts when it came to improvements, but just couldn't quite get there. As for the Phil Hart and James Hart driven Honda Civic, they're scrapping it away with the cars around them on the run towards the Roberts or the Fogarty S's. It is still going to be the BMW of Michael Rawlings that leads, just about keeping the car in a straight line on the exit, still being hunted down by Neil Livesey and Stephen Lake in the Lotus Elise, and Charlie Polk is there or thereabouts. As for the cars behind, the Hearts Racing Honda Civic, I think is going to be best of the rest.
Yep, so Lead Forge is getting away, and then it might not be the Hearts Honda Civic anymore because Elgar Racing and the BMW trying to wiggle its way through and gain position if at all it can. That was the Shane Rowe and Colin Murphy 3 Series Compact that has made some good early progress in this one. It's of course a long race. There's a mandatory pit stop as well in the middle of it. The pit window opens after 15 minutes. We've had a change for second place as they come over the start-finish line, and it's Charlie Polk, the pole sitter, that is now up into second place. As for the pit window, mandatory pit stop between the 15th and the 30th minute, and the pit stop from pit in to pit out cannot be any shorter than 2 minutes.
No, it can't, so drivers will have to bear that in mind. All penalties will await. The battles throughout the order raging on. As for Michael Rawlings at the front, you'd have thought he will be somewhat worried about Charlie Polk, because in these conditions, the front-wheel drive Scirocco should be slightly more stable, albeit a bit of a wobble as he jumped on the brakes in towards the old hairpin. Michael Rawlings just on the edge of grip, the car dancing around with that rear axle as they climb back up the hill through Starkeys Bridge and up towards Schwann's Curve once again. But Michael Rawlings, over a race distance, you'd have thought the rear-wheel drive BMW, whilst it's got a longer wheelbase and could be a bit more stable, those rear tyres will slowly start to wear away, and he's got to be so careful on the throttle. And Charlie Polk, he can carry that momentum through the corner.
Yeah, Charlie Polk took a win last time out at Brands Hatch on the Grand Prix circuit when it was dry conditions at the wheel of this Volkswagen Scirocco. So what might he be able to do here at what is only the 4th race of the 2025 championship season? They've still got Alton Park, Cadwell Park, Croft and Brands to go. We've got somebody off in the gravel trap up at Coppice Corner. You just hear the sound of the gravel in the background, and it's the Mini, isn't it, that's gone off Wolf Motorsport.
Yeah, it was a late move, a dive to the inside of the Shane Rowe Colin Murphy driven BMW 3 Series Compact, bounced over the curbs, and the rear axle refused to remain on terra firma, so he now finally gets back onto the exhibition straight after crawling his way through the gravel. But back going once again, Charlie Polk has taken the lead away from Michael Rawlings on the brakes in towards the Melbourne hairpin. That's where we've seen the change. As for Damien Shrubchalski, the next target for him is that Shane Rowe Colin Murphy 3 Series Compact. What did we say about the Mazda MX-5s? They'll all find each other, and the number 64 of... well, it can't have been a number 64, it will have
164.
The 164. Yeah. So that will have been Kamal Kelsey sharing with Aidan Hill sideways on the exit of the Melbourne hairpin. We'll try and pick out who it is behind the wheel next time they come through. They are in a great little battle. Will it be Kamal Kelsey or will it be Aidan Hills? To me, that's Kamal Kelsey
yeah,
behind the wheel. He's managed to get to the front of that little train, leaving either Nicholas or Alex Stott in the background.
So 40 minutes of the race still to go. Looks as though Damien Shrubchalski has gained a further place, so he's got himself through and ahead of the Algar Racing BMW on that occasion, which is now going to come under attack from Tommy Valentine's Ford Fiesta, the Burton Power car with its sort of Martini-esque livery to it, just working its way down through the Craner curve. So if Tommy can squeeze his way through, that would put him up into 8th position now. There's a very sideways George Wright in the background at the wheel of the Citroën Saxo. The Team Air Supply car was was all sorts of out of shape, but typical George Wright fashion, he tidied it all up and you'd never know.
No, he didn't go through the old hairpin, he arrived at the old hairpin, I think through no choice of his own. It is going to be the Ford Fiesta of, is it Tommy Valentine or
Tommy Valentine?
Yeah, Tommy Valentine behind the wheel. Andy Burton is out there in that Ford, in the sister Ford Focus, but now Tommy Valentine dives to the inside of the Algar Racing 3 Series Compact, and position made. We'll continue on. George Wright is trying to do the same in the Citroën Saxo VTS, albeit I don't think he's going to be quite close enough. As for the lead, Charlie Poole has pulled away from Michael Rawlings, and the Neil Libsey Stephen Lake Lotus Elise Series 2. He's under pressure now from Wayne Cockrell, and as for that of Kamal Khalsi, he's come back under pressure from the Stotts pairing in the Hills Motorsport. Team bagged, these two are teammates, Mazda MX-5.
Yeah, Colin Wells is in there as well, and then wanting to join in the fun is going to be Michael Arant as well. Are we going to have a change for position? Kamal Khalsi sees the Nicholas and Alex Stott Mazda coming, leaves the door open on the way into the old hairpin, but the wider line all the way around the outside, less polished surface, works in these conditions. So despite the very best efforts of everybody that's ganging up on him behind, he has not lost the position. We have had a shuffle though further back, because the Mark IV of Stephen Arant has now got through and ahead of Colin Wells. So that's Stephen Arant, whose brother also races as well. We've seen Michael Arant racing in things like GT Cup in the past.
Yeah, so they are working their way in towards Redgate. They are being caught by the Honda Civic Type R. It's not Damien Trubczewski, I think that's Trevor Hurrell that's trying to get in and involved with the Mazda MX-5s. As for Wayne Cockrell, did he manage to work his way through and past the Livesey and Lake Elise? No, not as of yet, as they head up towards Schwann's Curve and in towards McLean's. Those two will continue to battle on. However, on the run towards turn 1, we've got a real, I mean, just look at that for a shot if you're watching the live stream. The Mazda MX-5 Mark III, Renault Clio 182, Mazda RX 8 and a Honda Civic Type R. The Honda Civic Type R going through is in fact, that's Aaron Malarkey, isn't it? Carving his way through the order, yeah.
Yeah, Aaron Malarkey, who was originally supposed to be racing a Renault Clio on the entry list, but that is definitely not a Renault Clio, is it? And he has made really good progress now, working his way up through the order. Still plenty of places to try and work his way through and past, but he's slowly picking them all off, isn't he? So up towards McLean's corner goes the Ginetta G40, which is coming under pressure from Chris Stone, who's trying to weave his Mazda MX-5 Mark III through the Ginetta size gap that Dave Griffiths left, but he's not going to be able to unlock the door there. And further progress made by the Mark IV. Stephen Arant has got himself through and ahead of Kamal Khalsi. So of the quartet of Mazda MX-5s, he's now at the front of it. He was at the back of it a lap ago.
He is indeed, and Kamal Khalsi under pressure from the Stotts, and we're also seeing getting involved Trevor Hurrell, who's late on the brakes. He's trying to outbrake the little Mazda MX-5s, which is a very brave thing to do in the Honda Civic Type R. Won't get quite the same traction coming out of the Melbourne hairpin with it being front-wheel drive, having to pull himself up the hill instead of with it being rear-wheel drive and you push yourself up the hill. Damien Trubczewski slightly delayed coming out of the final corner, trying not to come under pressure from Tommy Valentine, who is still there or thereabouts. I think it's Nico Stott that's behind the wheel of the number 4 MX-5 Mark III. And as for Trevor Hurrell, he's managed to get past the Stotts, and now it's going to be Kamal Khalsi's turn to lose out to the bright green Honda Civic Type R on the run in towards Redgate.
Yep, so prizing the door open, will wiggle its way through without too much of a problem. Aaron Malarkey still making further progress there. He nips up the inside of Dave Griffiths at the wheel of the Ginetta G40. So that will be another place gain. So this time as he comes over the start-finish line, that's 5 more places that he's taken on that lap. So up to 21st from what was pretty much the back of the grid, and of course a 10-second penalty as well.
Yeah, what of the inroads of Michael McKeegan, because he was also on the very back row. He's still down in 31st place, not managed to pick up any major places throughout the early stages of this race, but still with the pit stop and the mandatory pit stop to go. So we could still see yet further changes, but Aaron Malarkey, he's on a bit of a mission through the field, isn't he? We'll see if he is sharing that car with Jordan Malarkey, or it is Aaron solo throughout this race. Unfortunately, we've lost the Hearts Racing Honda Civic Type R at the bottom of the old hairpin. That looks like on the brakes the car wobbled left and right, and unfortunately, when it went right, it wasn't coming back round, and they've dug themselves a nice hole in the gravel.
Yeah, it's just so tricky, isn't it, down through the Craner curves at the best of times when it's bone dry, but when it's wet, you've got the flow of the water from one side of the circuit to the other as well. If you just wash out wide a little bit, you might just pop a wheel on the grass on the outside, the right-hand side of the left-hand aspect of the Craner curves, and then you're done for. And sadly, that's what's happened. We've also had a spin for the second of the FJ Racing cars down at the old hairpin, and that's the number 26 car of Stuart Smith that's trying to get going. And we've got now into the gravel trap as well, Dominic Trukchalski at the wheel of his Honda, and that's down at the Melbourne hairpin.
It is. He's got a long way in, hasn't he? That sort of indicates lock-up. But he's come on at a really odd angle on the grass, so you'd think maybe he locked the fronts and simply couldn't get that car slowed down. All of a sudden, with 3 cars off, the safety car has come out, and Nico puts his hand out of the roof of the Mazda MX-5 just to let Kamal Kalsi know, safety car, just so it drags his eyes up and away, and jumping its way to a relative place of safety is the Hearts Racing Honda Civic Type R. The slightly newer Honda Civic Type R, the FN2 model of Damien Trukchalski, is still in the gravel. It's good to see, however, that Stuart Smith has managed to get his Renault Clio struck back into life and climbing the hill once again on the run up towards Sheen Curve. I don't know whether those 2 incidents down at the old hairpin were related,
Yeah.
or it just so happened that 2 cars had a similar problem and one got caught out in the gravel.
The safety car is still waiting to head out onto circuit, so whilst we're under safety car conditions at this stage, the safety car will wait and in the pit lane until it knows it's got the race leader coming up in it. Because if it goes out onto the track now, what it's got to do is just wave by all of the cars that are coming out. So it waits patiently at pit lane exit, and our race leader, which is Charlie Polk, is just down at the Melbourne hairpin at the moment. So there should be plenty of time for the safety car to feed its way out. And I don't think it'll be a long safety car period, because the snatching of the Hearts Honda Civic down there at the old hairpin is pretty much complete. We then just need to wait to get the stricken number 88 Damien Trukchalski Honda Civic out of the gravel trap at the Melbourne hairpin, but that shouldn't take too long because there's no damage to the car. It's just plopped itself into the gravel trap.
No, they might even be able to do that with one of the circuit pickup trucks just to pull that car out of the gravel. George Wright was still closing in on the Algar Racing 3 Series Compact, but didn't quite have enough. As for Tommy Valentine, he's massively fallen away from those cars up the road. We saw him scrapping away, but unfortunately, and now the 26 Clio of Stuart Smith has gone no further on the exit of the Fogarty S's. He tried to get it back, and it's one of those where if he'd just gone a couple of sort of 100 metres up the road, it would have been downhill and he could have rolled that car into the pit lane or into the paddock on the clutch. But unfortunately, that car is no more. The live snatch of the Hearts Racing Civic has been concluded.
And that car is now trundling its way along the grass. It is going to rejoin. Look at all the gravel, though, that's coming out of it. It goes round through the old hairpin. Loads of gravel coming out of the car. And we'll wait and see, even as it exits the old hairpin now and climbs up towards Schwantz. The gravel, again, just depositing itself all over the circuit. So whilst we remain under safety car, and whilst we are still trying to get Damien Trukchalski's car out of harm's way, let me just guide you through the order then. Car number 89, Charlie Polk, the Volkswagen Scirocco, leads the way from 34. Tom Rawlings, the BMW, there in second place. Third place is number 69. That's the Lotus that Neil Livesey shares with Stephen Lake. And fourth place, it's number 21, the Toyota Celica of Wayne Cockrell. Fifth position, it's number 41 that's there in fifth place. That's David Zakchevsky, ahead of the Ford Fiesta number 155 of Tommy Valentine, who's there in sixth place. Seventh place is the Elgar Racing number 35 BMW. Shane Rowe and Colin Murphy are there in eighth place. Ninth place is number 56, which is the Mazda MX-5 Mark IV, which is Michael Arant's car, Stephen Arant's car, Michael's his brother, and completing the top 10 is car number 143, and that is going to be Trevor Hurrell, who completes the top 10. What of the progress from Aaron Malarkey from the tail end of the order, I hear you ask? Well, he is now up into 19th position at the wheel of the number 25 Honda Civic.
Damien Trukchalski has been dug out of the gravel. Over the start-finish line he will go, spreading a bit more gravel around the circuit, as we've also got the same from the Hearts Racing Honda Civic. So a wet circuit is now going to be the least of their worries. Gravel around the circuit could be a new worry, with the safety car heading in towards the Melbourne hairpin. getting quite close to an interesting point in the race, Mark.
We are, because I think the safety car might be in shortly, and we are 12 seconds away from the pit window opening. So have the lights gone out on the safety car as yet? No, they have not.
It might be a late call.
So it might be a late call, but the lights still remain on as it heads up towards Goddard's, and the pit window is now open. So are we going to see cars dive for the pit lane under safety car? We've still got a telehandler working down there on the approach towards Goddard, so that's why we have not as yet seen the safety car coming towards the pit lane area. So there's still a telehandler there that I think is maybe waiting to attach itself to Stuart Smith's Renault Clio that's stricken. But as expected, window is opened, everybody dives to the pit lane, but curiously the Lotus Elise of Neil Livesey and Stephen Lake doesn't.
Yeah, it gets very, very busy indeed, so as long as everybody's being safe and sensible down in the pit lane, we're happy to go on. Nico Stott, I think, wanted to carry on by way of just worried about how much free space there will be in the pit lane. Also into the pit lane.
The telehandler's pitting as well.
Telehandler into the pit lane to serve his mandatory pit stop. Also coming in is the Team Air Supply 944 car, number 64, Jack Wright and Matthew Allett. I couldn't quite pick out who that was behind the wheel. For the cars carrying on, it always confuses me, because the next lap, I think somewhat naively, but somewhat obviously, we are going to see the safety car come in. So why wouldn't you pit under safety car and minimise the time loss?
It always sort of gets me scratching my head a little bit. You know, if the safety car stayed out there for another lap, then
fine, yeah.
Yes, fine. But it's highly unlikely to. But of course, you know, they're not necessarily looking at the live stream down there in the pit lane, so they might be blissfully unaware how close we are to going back to green flag.
Yeah, I think I would still do it just in case if the safety car was out there. But of course, some of them, specifically towards the front, may look, and they might have clicked start on their timer slightly later, and they'll go, well, I'm still 30 seconds away from the pit window, so I'm not going to pit. Into the pit lane also comes the 1162 Racing UK Mazda 2 of Adam Headley and Benjamin Payne. You don't see many of those Mazda 2s racing.
I've seen a couple of them racing. Yeah,
over in Asia, they're really popular, really popular indeed. But the pit lane is very busy. We have the timing screen ready. A number of drivers have already been in there for a minute and a half, so they've not got too long until they can return to the circuit. The first car that came in naturally was our VW Scirocco race leader of Charlie Polk, who's been very clever about where he's positioned his car, pointing it straight back out again as cars begin to roll down the pit lane. And it's going to be Michael Saunders that is there or thereabout. Charlie Polk nails his pit stop, 2:03.330. So too does Michael Rawlings, 2:02.737. As for Wayne Cockrell, as he picked
2:05 he's done.
2:05. We have had one short stop. That's for the 143 machine. Team Wheelcare, Trevor Hurrell, he was on a bit of a mission through the order.
Yeah, Trevor Hurrell, it's so frustrating. The minimum time you can be from pit in to pit out is 2 minutes. If you're any shorter than that, you've not complied with the pit stop regulations. And Trevor Hurrell, 1 minute 59.478. He's half a second short, but he's short.
Safety car lights are still on, but I thought we'd cleaned everything up around the circuit, so we may still see that extra lap of...
If you didn't pit on the previous lap, get yourself in the pit lane now, that's for sure.
Yeah, so safety car staying out. Unsure as to why. As for the Lotus Elise not pitting, that's just going to cost them time, you would have thought. But now everybody else does pit. The reason for the safety car staying out is still a bit beyond me.
Yep, so there's nothing obvious that we can see from the timing screen. Maybe there's just a bit of sweeping up being done because there was a lot of gravel that was deposited on the circuit. Can't see anything at Goddard's now. We've still got the number 26 Renault Clio of Stuart Smith parked up, but I think that car is now far enough out of harm's way. We've got Damien Chalski coming into the pit lane this time through, so the only car that hasn't pitted is the race-leading Lotus, and that at the moment is the only car that's lined up behind the safety car.
Yes, which is still confusing. You'd have thought absolutely dive into the pit lane and minimise that time loss, but Charlie Polk is still in theory in the net lead of the race. As for the Livesey and Lake pairing in the Lotus Elise, whilst they are at the front of the queue, they still have to pit and are being closed down by Charlie Polk, even though they are behind the safety car. Everybody else has been the right side of 2 minutes as well, Mark. The only one that got caught out was that 143 of Trevor Hurrell.
Yeah, it was a really slow stop for the Mazda 2 of Ben Payne and Adam Headley. remember, minimum pit stop time is 2 minutes. They were nearly 2.5. They were 2 minutes and 28 seconds. So that's been the longest pit stop of anybody so far.
Yeah, if they were aiming for 2 minutes 30, they were short. If they were aiming to 2 minutes, they were way too long, no matter which way you cut it.
Right. Tie wraps going on to windscreen wipers is never a good thing. Stephen Gilbert and Matt Baldacci and the Renault Clio 182 just being dealt with. We saw Stephen out, didn't we, qualifying in Enduro KA?
Yes.
In the Burton Power car. Matt Baldacci has done a good chunk of racing with MSVT over the years, but yes, work going on to sort out a windscreen wiper issue on the Clio.
Yes, it makes you wonder what exactly it is, whether they're just not quite getting the coverage or that the wiper is simply being dragged over the surface, not quite in the angle in which they would like. Safety car, I say safety car Q, safety car single, the Livesey and Lake Lotus Elise. I think now they're trying to hurry the safety car on, but you should imagine we'll be going green this time. Safety car lights are still on, so
unless they're just waiting for the train to form up behind,
which seems not unfair, but you know what I mean. That Livesey and Lake could have still popped into the pit lane right the way down to the Melbourne hairpin. Safety car has well and truly reduced its pace. Yeah,
so Charlie Pulk is now the third car in the queue. Is the first of those that has pitted, so it just goes to show how much time that Lotus has lost now. It has lost 2 minutes.
Yes, yeah, it's lost
effectively
reality,
a full lap. It's lost a pit stop, It's lost a full lap in reality.
And they still have to pit.
Still got to pit, So, yes, it's leading on the road, but yes, by the time it then serves its pit stop and we cycle through, it will not be on the lead lap anymore.
I think we're going to see a further safety car lap as well, maybe in efforts to try and get the queue together, which for quality of racing I understand, but in terms of those that maybe benefit and those that don't, it would be questioned. Livesey and Lake into the pit lane.
That helps them. That extra lap of safety car is a bit of a get out of jail for them, because at least that helps them. They're going to be right at the back of the train, but now they are going to now still at least be on the lead lap. But why they didn't pit immediately, I'm just not sure.
Because the pit lane would have been free in front of them, aside from 2 or 3 cars, so they would have been able to find their parking spot relative to anybody else. Charlie Pulk can't really go anywhere, because you'd imagine the Scirocco is going to be very quick on the uptake of the restart of the race, but cannot pass the Mazda 2 prior to the safety car control line or the start-finish line, which means that Michael Rawlings can start applying pressure straight away.
Unless the Mazda 2 gets waved through, of course, but we'll have to wait and see. And that's the car that had the slow pit stop. That is the only car that has done a pit stop that's nearer 2.5 minutes. And the only car still that is short on the pit stop is Trevor Hurrell. Everybody else is good. And Mazda's getting waved by, which now means that we have Charlie Polk behind the safety car, and he'll be able to get the race back underway. The Lotus is just in the process of being swapped over, so that is going to be Neil Livesey and Stephen Lake giving way to each other.
It's almost like they were waiting for the Livesey and Lake Elise to go into the pit lane to then wave through the Mazda. But what if they didn't pit? Because they don't have to pit just as of yet. They could have carried on
another 7 minutes of safety car.
Yes, yeah. So it would have been quite some time. So the Livesey and Lake Elise goes back out onto the circuit any moment now. Into the pit lane comes Aaron Malarkey. Has he been in already? No, this is his first stop, albeit he spent a bit of time in the gravel, didn't he? So back going. Whereabouts did he get up to? 28th place post mistake. Hands something out. Was that handing something out of the car, or maybe just a chat to the marshals? Whatever's going on. Unsure. Yeah, I thought I spotted him hand out a ratchet basically out of the car, which is never a good sign, or a torque wrench if it's in the car rattling around. Unsure as to exactly how it got there.
Yes, so not ideal to have things rattling around inside a race car that aren't fully strapped down. So the pit window still remains open, but everybody has now either conducted their mandatory pit stop or is just in the process of finishing it off. It is going to be up to Charlie Polk as and when the safety car turns its lights off to decide as to when he wants to accelerate towards the start-finish line. The Mazda that was waved by, which is the Ben Payne and Adam Headley car, is just turning its way round through Goddard. The lights go off on the safety car, so we are going to be back to racing before too much longer. And the Elise on the outlap has had a spin, has it not? It was the last to complete its pit stop. It had already lost a raft of time with when it decided to pit, and it's now had a spin, I'm afraid.
No, that's not going to go down well with the race officials, bearing in mind we're under safety car conditions. Safety car lights go off. It's now Charlie Polk and Michael Rawlings sat there 1-2, weaving around, filling each other's mirrors and making it hard work. Wayne Cockrell is sat there in what is second place, and then as we look down the order, David Zakchevsky is there in fourth and will be looking for a good restart. Charlie Polk has gone nice and early, caught Michael Rawlings napping somewhat, and Wayne Cockrell, we know he's quick. Is he quick enough to stick with either of those top two and also fend off any attentions from David Zakchevsky with 20 minutes of this race still to go? All the pit stops have been complete with the assistance of the safety car. It's now going to be racing right the way until the check-in.
Yeah, so for the moment, it looks like Michael Rawlings is just having to give second best again to Charlie Polk, who was already, just after the first sprint down the start-finish line and the exit of Redgate Corner, been able to edge away from the BMW, the E36 that sits there in second position. Tommy Valentine with his hands rather full at the wheel of the Ford Fiesta. He's sitting down there in 9th place, and he has now got Aidan Hills behind him, which means he's lost a position to the Reeds Mini, hasn't he, which has gone back through on the restart. So Chris and Luke Reeds Mini Cooper is now ahead of the Burton Power Ford Fiesta. So Tommy Valentine dropping down to 10th.
Yes, he is, and that Mini Cooper, of course, we saw it rumbling through the gravel. It's now closing in on the Hearts-driven Honda Civic. And Tommy Valentine, he'll be wondering what to do about Aidan Hills, because Aidan knows what he's doing behind the wheel of a Mazda MX-5. So we'll see what Tommy can do by way of a defence or by way of letting him through and then following him through the traffic. Aidan Hills, the body language of the car shows he's pushing on. As for Charlie Polk, how far up the road has he managed to get? It's a half spin, it's wobbling left, right, left, manages to get the car back straight again and kept it out the gravel. He loses the lead to Michael Rawlings. Is he going to lose out to Wayne Cockrell on the run in towards the Melbourne hairpin? We will see. As for the 944, that has carved its way up another position further down the order. And then back to the race leaders. Charlie Polk in second place. Wayne Cockrell hasn't managed to take second away from the recovering Charlie.
No, Wayne Cockrell was almost there, almost was able to unlock the door and place Charlie Polk a further position down through the order, but couldn't quite get the job done in time. But all the way down through the pack, we've got brilliant fights going on. It looks like Tommy Valentine has lost another place now to the number 164 car of Aidan Hills. As over the start-finish line comes the race leader, Michael Rawlings, having picked up the lead of the race because of that mistake from Charlie Polk. So the Brands Hatch Grand Prix race winner, Charlie Polk, down into second place. I don't think we've seen huge amounts of Michael Rawlings in Trackday Trophy so far this year. He certainly wasn't there at Brands Hatch, and just having a quick look back through previous results, I don't think he appeared at Silverstone on the Grand Prix circuit either. He non-finished at Snetterton at the opening weekend of racing in the Trackday Trophy, so he would desperately like to try and chalk up a win if he can.
Yes, he would, with Michael Rawlings leading the way, and Charlie Polk sat there in second place. He has the fastest lap of the race to his name, but that mistake will just put him on edge for the next couple of laps to try and minimise any further mistakes. Wayne Cockrell in third place, and with David Zakchevsky, he's just started to fall away in what is fourth, but it's still close enough. Any sort of mistake from those cars up the road, he will be there to pick up the pieces. As for Tommy Valentine, as you say, he lost out to Jack Wright and Matty Allett in the early part of this lap. Now we may see a change up at the front. Charlie Polk with a look to the inside, too far back on this occasion. They just about squeeze in front of the Ben Payne and Adam Headley Mazda 2 on the run through the Fogarty S's this time. Charlie Polk keeps the car pointing the right way, albeit Michael Rawlings was coming under pressure, but just late enough on the brakes for now. You can see the car struggling to go. Keep an eye on Michael Rawlings on the exit of the Melbourne hairpin. Is he going to struggle away with that rear axle? Yes, he is. Just works his way onto the painted surface. They're going to be side by side by the time they arrive at Goddard's.
Yeah, but he's got the all-important inside line, but in these tricky conditions, the outside line might offer up more grip. Is Charlie Polk going to try for the undercut on the way out of the corner? Yes, he does. He gets the undercut. They match each other for momentum over the start-finish line, but Charlie Polk just about gets his nose ahead. He's not quite clear of the BMW of Michael Rawlings, but again, Michael Rawlings has the inside line as they head up towards Redgate Corner this time through. So onto the brakes and in towards the right-hander at Redgate. Michael Rawlings still hangs on to the lead. Now Charlie Polk will try the undercut again, but this time as they head onto the top of Hollywood. And is this time, is he going to be successful and take the lead? Oh, he's just going to nose ahead of the BMW. So it's Charlie Polk and the Volkswagen Scirocco that are back into the lead.
It is. So with Charlie Polk into the lead of the race, Michael Rawlings will do what he can to try and unsettle what you would imagine is still a slightly nervy Charlie Polk from the previous mistake. Wayne Cockrell will be watching on in eagerness to get involved, but simply can't quite extract the pace he needs out of the Toyota Celica. Further down the order, we've still got some brilliant battles going on. Are we still getting improvements and positions made up the order from Aaron Malarkey? Yes, we are. Up 5 places last time through, up into 20th place. So starting from the back, carved his way to the mid-pack, then dropped down the order. Drive-through penalties are being dished out, the first of which for car number 69, which I have down. Yes, that's the Neil Livesey and Stephen Lake Lotus. Did they short stop?
No.
No.
Must have been some sort of infringement in the pits.
Some infringement elsewhere. Car number 83, the Echo Racing Mazda MX-5 of Mike Fletcher and Alex Langston, and the third and final drive-through penalty being dished out to car number 19. That's the race car consultant's Ford Fiesta of Michael McKeegan. Not only did he have to start off the back of the grid for non-compliance, he's now got a drive-through penalty.
That's rubbing salt in the wounds, isn't it?
Yeah.
That, unfortunately, but those are the regulations. If you don't comply with them, then you end up picking up the penalty. Drive-through penalty, we'll have to wait and see exactly what the infringement was.
Yeah, Matty Allett and Jack Wright in their Porsche 944 on the run through the Fogarty S's, got all out of shape, dipped the car into the gravel, so they lost out to a number of cars, and that's dropped them a bit of a way down the order. Quite how high up the order they were, I don't know, but Stephen Arant goes through, so too does Trevor Hurrell, and so too do Phil and James Hart in their Honda Civic. So a small mistake has cost them dear. As for Aaron Malarkey, he is just coming over the crest and down in towards the Melbourne hairpin now, and they've got Damian Trupchalski, the recovering Damian Trupchalski, not that far behind. The next target for Aaron Malarkey will be the number 60 Mazda MX-5 of Chris Stone.
Yep, so bearing in mind he sort of started at the back, worked his way through the order in the Honda Civic, and then had the issue and dropped all the way back down again. It's been a bit of a yo-yo race from him. Up the inside into the braking area for Goddard's comes Nick Maingott at the wheel of his orange Mark IV Mazda. He's doing battle with Damian Trupchalski. Damian Trupchalski, as a result of his off and into the gravel, is off the lead lap, isn't he, at the moment? New fastest lap of the race last time through for the race leader Charlie Polk. 1 minute 57.609, suggesting that the track is ever drying.
It would indicate that conditions are improving, still with 12 and a half minutes still to go. There's plenty of time for these battles to continue on. The Hearts Racing Honda Civic, are they still on the lead lap, or did they drop off the lead lap with the time they spent in the gravel? I'd imagine they're not on the lead lap, as they're not on the first page of TSL, so we wait for it to update. Yes, they are off the lead lap by a couple of laps, but they're still fighting away with Trevor Hurrell and the recovering Matty Allett and Jack Wright. Porsche 944 is starting to get involved, this time much neat and tidier through the Fogarty S's.
Yeah, you can see that's Jack, can't you? Yeah. The open-faced helmet.
Go on.
No, I was going to say, it's a good little battle, isn't it? Yeah, Trevor Hurrell under attack from the Hearts Honda Civic, then coming under attack from Jack Wright, and Stephen Arant is just off the back as that. So that's 5th and 7th and 8th and 9th, is it? Is it at this stage? 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th, yeah, all together, coming up towards Goddard's.
They are, with albeit the Hearts down in 31st position, with a bit of work to do for the rest of this race, but it's great to see the train of cars on the run towards Redgate. Not too far up the road is George Wright. You spotted something there.
No, just the two Burton Power cars together. So Tommy Valentine coming under pressure from Dad and off and into the gravel trap again at exactly the same space and place as he went off earlier, which brought about the safety car, is Damian Trupchalski. This time the Honda skitters through the gravel and back out the other side. So it's time lost, and he does continue, but he almost followed the same wheel tracks as he put previously on the grass there and skittered for the second time through the gravel at Melbourne Hairpin.
He did, and brought more gravel on to the circuit once again. Up the hill go the two Honda Civics, albeit 2 laps apart. Trevor Hurrell will still be fighting away with the Hearts Racing Honda Civic, but now we see Jack Wright and that of Matthew Allett trying to look up the inside of the Hearts Racing Honda Civic Type R. In to serve his drive-through penalty is the race car consultant's Ford Fiesta of Michael McKeegan. He will return to the circuit any moment now and get his race back underway. Charlie Polk and Michael Rawlings and Wayne Cockrell are still equidistantly spread, 1, 2 and 3. Also in to serve their drive-through penalty. I thought I saw them coming in. Yes, I did. It's the Neil Livesey and Stephen Lake Lotus Elise Series 2. They will return to the circuit just in front of Charlie Polk and in danger of going a lap down after all.
Yep, so I think they will go a lap down, will they? So they just come out of pit lane now, and Charlie Polk will be directly behind them. He's the next car that's just behind them. Yeah, he's a couple of seconds back, but with 10 minutes to go, they're going to have to drive their socks off to try and stay on the lead lap of the race. Still a good fight going on coming up towards Goddard's corner. That is Jack Wright in the number 64 Porsche. That's the 944 that the family have owned and run for a good period of time. And who's he closing up on? The next car he's closing up on is his father at the wheel of the Citroën Saxo over the start-finish line. So son closing up on dad. And Jack Wright, is he going to go through? Yeah, there's an indication, isn't it, from George Wright? But no, Jack's not going to quite make it. Dad's having none of that at this stage.
No, George Wright put the indicator on, I think, to say, you know what, go for it, go to the inside. But then Jack realised he was on the wet side of the circuit. However, down through the Greater curves, where you maybe wouldn't want to go for the move, Jack Wright dives to the inside. Position made, but with a bit of a wobble as soon as the circuit pitch left in towards the old hairpin. Now George Wright can play rear gunner, the Saxo lifting that inside rear wheel. He still drives that like a touring car, doesn't he? Yeah, it's great to see. He's almost, you see his driving position, he's almost forward in the seat, hunched over the steering wheel, trying to get as much power out of it as he possibly can. And he needs to keep pedaling it, because if he looks in his mirrors, he'll see that he's got the car of Hurrell right behind him. So that's Trevor Hurrell, who started, what was he, 17th on the grid or something like that, and has made some good progress up into 8th position. Yeah, Trevor Hurrell 17th on the grid, and to be where he is and fighting away with the Wrights, which in and of themselves are a very quick family. So we'll see what Trevor Hurrell can do. Go on. The only problem with Trevor Hurrell is that he's going to get a 2-lap penalty because he was short in his pit stop. Yes, yeah, but maybe he doesn't know that, or maybe he does, and he's trying to minimise the damage. There was a look to the inside of George Wright, but it didn't come off for him, so it's cost him a lot of time. And now the Hearts Racing Honda Civic is having a half look to the inside on the run in towards the Melbourne hairpin. Are they close enough? No, not that time. Washed over to the outside. George Wright is dealing with the pressure very, very well indeed. The Hearts Racing Honda Civic 2 laps down, but still fighting like they are fighting over the podium positions, and why not? Yeah, well, they're in a false position, aren't they, being 2 laps down, because they've had the pace, and the 2 laps they lost was when they were in the gravel trap down there at the old hairpin or the bottom of the Craner curve. So they are as quick as the cars that they are fighting. If they keep holding each other up, don't rule out the fact that the red Mark IV Mazda MX-5, which is Stephen Arant, might just begin to close in. And here we're going to have a change for the order. Yes, as Trevor Hurrell dives up the inside of George Wright, the Honda Civic is going to grab the position on the way in towards Redgate Corner, but the wider line and the less polished surface allows George Wright to cling on to the place on the way out. There was almost contact between the pair there, wasn't it? It was George Wright tried to cover off the move of the Honda. Yeah, I think there was a little bit of contact where George Wright was trying to hold on to that position around the outside, and Trevor Hurrell, in eagerness to get on the throttle, the car effectively power understeered into the rear of George Wright. They both got away with it though. The Hearts Racing Honda Civic, as you say, false position to want to prove their pace and show where they can actually race, but unfortunately through 180 degrees we have lost Aaron Malarkey somewhere. He's got back going again. Redgate. That's Redgate, so a spin. That was quite early into Redgate. You would think he lost that car. Maybe a lock of the rear on the run in. So the Stotz Mazda MX-5 is the car that's now behind them. That's had a troubled race, hasn't it, Aaron Malarkey? The non-compliance in qualifying put them to the back with the 10-second delay, and since then it's just been struggling to keep the consistency. Yeah, I say, bearing in mind that when the qualifying took place, yes, the car was non-compliant, but we don't know the details of that non-compliance. He was 3rd quickest overall, so yes, it would have been a car we'd have expected to have been fighting towards the front, and even with that 10-second penalty made good progress, but 2 mistakes then have undone all of that hard work, and he's back down through the order again. He was at the start of this lap in 15th place, but the spin is going to drop him another couple of places. Over the start finish line has gone the race leader. Charlie Polk leads with under 6 minutes to go. Michael Rawlings there in 2nd place, but only just now. He's got the Mini right with him, which is the Chris and Luke Reed Mini. This car started 13th after qualifying and is now looking to try and haul itself up into 2nd. Yeah, that car that we saw go running through the gravel, extremely wide coppice, The safety car has brought them back into the mix. Last time through with the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 57.027. That's 2.2 seconds quicker than the race leader. Into the pit lane now to serve their drive-through penalty is the Echo Racing MX-5 Mark II of Mike Fletcher and Alex Langston. But the Reeds in their Mini, that is very, very quick indeed. We've now got stop-go penalties being dished out, the first of which is for Colin Wells in his Mazda MX-5. The other is for the number 69, Neil Livesey, Stephen Lake Lotus Elise Series 2.
Oh dear, it just keeps coming undone for them, doesn't it? Not pitting when they needed to, having a spin on the outlap, having a drive-through penalty, and now having a stop-go penalty. So they just keep mounting up, don't they? Case of, oh, what could have been. Charlie Polk still leads the way. The light green Scirocco still trying to work its way through a little bit of traffic. Michael Rawlings having to deal with the traffic on the run in towards the Fogarty S's because he's got breathing down his neck. The Reeds, Chris and Luke's Mini Cooper, the Wolf Motorsport prepared car, with Alex Reed Motorsport, of course, having a shot down at Brands Hatch, one of the other MSV circuits, supporting that car. And he's going to dive up the inside, and they're going to take second place away from Michael Rawlings on the brakes, going in towards the Melbourne hairpin. Job done. Mini up to second. BMW sliding its way out of the Melbourne hairpin on the power, is down to third.
Complete trust from both drivers. Michael Rawlings trusting that the Reeds aren't going to outbrake themselves. And look at the confidence on the brakes. How the Mini has the ability to brake that hard. You can see here, I'm not exactly sure who it is behind the wheel, but they're leaning into the apex to try and get as much weight onto the inside as possible. It's brilliant to watch. That Mini is on a mission, 4 minutes to make up 4 seconds. I don't think it's going to happen, albeit they have been lapping 2.2 seconds quicker. We've seen it with their fastest lap.
Yeah, it had an overtake for position and was still a tenth of a second quicker than the race leader last time through. So there is a possibility. It depends what does Charlie Polk have left in reserve. I don't think a great deal in reality, because the last lap Charlie Polk did in the Scirocco that leads the way was a 157.9. His best is a 157.6, so he's only 0.3 off his best anyway.
Yeah, and we're still watching George Wright scrap away with Trevor Hurrell. He's managed to fend off Trevor Hurrell, and unfortunately the Hearts go through, but George Wright will be so much later on the brakes on the run in towards Redgate. Is he going to hold on to this position? Is he going to gain them both back? He dives to the inside. Can he get to the apex first? Yes, he can. He's gripping on for dear life and just about manages to hold on to that spot. But Trevor Hurrell, you'd imagine, slightly quicker down the hill, and he might finally get that position made.
So yeah, Trevor Hurrell finally gets himself ahead of the George Wright driven Saxo, and the car of Stephen Arant, who was beginning to close in, hasn't quite got there in the end, the red Mazda MX-5. There's a big spin then down at the old hairpin for Trevor Hurrell, so just as he manages to get through and ahead of the Saxo, yes, leans on the tyres a bit too much, heading through the right-hander down at the bottom of the hill. And that's it, he's spun onto the grass on the infield.
Yeah, and I think struggling to get that car relit. The Reeds Mini Cooper has closed in massively on Charlie Polk. Last time they came over the line 4.2 seconds apart. This could be sub 2 seconds by the time we arrive into the final corner. So the Reeds are continuing to be surgical through traffic. Absolutely perfect margins between themselves and the car, but they've gone very wide through the final corner and find themselves in the into the barrier. Exactly what happened, I don't know. It just looked like the car washed wide and they found themselves in the barrier.
That's the problem. The grass is so wet that as soon as you're onto it, the car almost accelerates. So all of that hard work done, unfortunately, is going to come to nothing. So the Recticel barrier doing its work. Yep. There might not be that much damage to the car because it really is fantastically energy absorbent stuff. And yeah, he's reversing the car out from where it came to rest. There's no obvious signs of any steam coming from it, so it hasn't holed the radiator. The Mini will get going again, but where is it going to be? It has got the Zakchevsky BMW just working its way through, and the Mini opts to come into the pit lane to get any damage checked out by the team.
Yeah, such a shame for the Reeds in there, Mini. They were closing in onto Charlie Polk in the lead of the race, but it just seemed like the car washed wide and onto the grass, as you say. You're only going to go one way, and that time it was straight into the Recticel barrier. Charlie Polk struggling to carve his way through traffic, trying to get through and past Nick Maingoat. Does so now on the run up towards Coppice. Whereabouts has Nick Maingoat got up to as we look onto the screen? Struggling to pick out exactly where he is, because he's got the number 3 Mazda MX-5 Mark III of Martin Adams and Andrew Thompson not sat that far behind. Whereabouts are they fighting over? Those two are together, and they are fighting over a position in class. That's 9th and 10th in Class D. The two Burton Power cars are still together, so Tommy Valentine the lead of the two, currently 3rd in Class C. Andy Burton in the Ford Focus is sat there 13th overall, 5th in Class D. Those two have been chasing each other around over the previous couple of laps, haven't they?
They have. There's been nothing to choose between the pair of them. Tommy Valentine just ahead of Andy Burton. They are sort of sparring with each other at the moment. They'll be sharing the car, the Burton Power car, in the Enduro KA race that will be coming up very shortly. But we've got our race leader who will be heading up towards the start of what will be the final lap of the race. This time through, he crosses the line with 8 seconds remaining.
He does indeed. So one final rotation of the Donington Park GP circuit. Wayne Cockrell still trying to carve his way through some of the traffic, but doesn't really have any pressure because the next car would be that of Jack Wright and Matthew Allett. That car's only now coming through the final corner, whereas we look for Wayne Cockrell and he's already heading through Redgate, so no pressure in regards to his outright podium. The Jack Wright and Matthew Allett Porsche 944 is still going to be there, 3rd in Class B, 4th overall. But up the hill and very sideways through the final corner was the number 41 BMW in the hands of David Zakrzewski. So even on the final lap of the race, he's still pushing on. Where does Zakrzewski fall into the order? 5th overall and 4th in Class B. Very sideways on the exit of Redgate. I think he knows it's the final lap. He's having a bit of fun. Maybe not through the crater curves, as that's where it really can bite you back with how wet the grass is. But we look out towards the exhibition straight, and Charlie Polk is coming towards the Fogarty S's for the very final time. The two Burton Power cars of Tommy Valentine and Andy Burton go over the line together. There was 3/10 separating them last time they crossed the line, but it is still going to be Tommy Valentine that gets the better of the two as they head on to their final lap. But Charlie Polk for the final time in towards the Melbourne hairpin as he jumps on the brakes, flicks the car in. He's just managed to work his way through and past Damian Trubchelski. Back up the hill he will go, and Charlie Polk in the somewhat new to him VW Scirocco might have had a fight today with Harry Goes in the Man Goes Racing VW Scirocco. Unfortunately, he didn't come out to join us in the Trackday Trophy, but the sole race of the weekend for the Trackday Trophy will go the way of Charlie Polk in the VW Scirocco. The win outright and the win in Class B. The next car towards the line will be the number 34 BMW in the hands of Michael Rawlings, 2nd overall and 2nd in Class B. Over the line to round out the overall podium is Wayne Cockrell. He takes the win in Class C. It will then be Jack Wright and Matthew Allett over the line to finish 4th overall and to round out your Class B podium. The next car we are looking for is going to be George Wright. Whereabouts is George? He's just picking his way through the Melbourne hairpin now, as he will dive on the brakes in towards the final corner. David Zakrzewski through the final corner, extremely sideways, enjoying that final lap, finished 5th overall and 4th in Class B. Now the arrival of George Wright in the silver Team Air Supply Citroen Saxo VTS. Over the line he will go and take the win in Class D. He was running away from the red Mazda MX-5 in the background, that being car number 56 in the hands of Stephen Arant, who had a great little race in that car. Kamal Kelsey and Aidan Hills will round out your D-Class podium and the top 8. As for class winners, that is everybody. Class B, C and D have been covered. Tommy Valentine, as he crossed the line and fended off the cars around him, and more importantly I think Andy Burton for bragging rights, but any other cars around him thereafter, that secured him the final spot in the C-Class podium. But Charlie Polk takes the win from Michael Rawlings in 2nd place, Wayne Cockrell in 3rd, followed by the Jack Wright and Matty Allett Porsche 944. It was then David Zakrzewski that finished in 5th place ahead of George Wright in the Citroen Saxo VTS, 6th overall and the win in Class D. It was then car number 56 in the hands of Stephen Orant. He finished in 7th place. Kamal Kelsey and Aidan Hills shared Mazda MX-5, finishes 8th overall and rounds out your D-Class podium. Car number 6 in the hands of Colin Wells. He crossed the line to finish in 9th place. To round out your top 10, car number 1, 2, 6, that being Cameron McLean in his Renault Clio 182. On to the next few. Aaron Malarkey, managed to get right the way up into 11th place in that Honda Civic, 5th in Class B. It was then Tommy Valentine and Andy Burton, 12th and 13th place, followed by Trevor Hurrell with a post-race penalty, I think, to be applied in 14th place. 15th was car number 82, that being David Griffiths. It was the pairing of Nicholas and Alex Stott that finished in 16th place. 17th place was the 60 car of Chris Stone. In 18th place, car number 77, that being Stephen Gilbert and Matt Baldici. It was Nick Maingott that finished in 19th place. And to round out your top 20, it was car number 19, the race car consultants, Ford Fiesta of Michael McKeegan. Mark should have some cars coming towards him now. I can see Charlie Polk is just rolling his way down the pit lane. So too is Michael Rawlings. So too is Wayne Cockrell. They will swing a left in the pit lane to go into Parc Fermé. Charlie Polk must have a bit of a story, because did he pick up on the fact that the Reeds Mini was getting closer, and does he have any idea what happened? Michael Rawlings had a busy old race himself, and Wayne Cockrell, that car started to start running on song towards the end of the race. But Mark, you have drivers down in Parc Fermé.
We do, yep, and we will be interviewing the top three. We'll also be conducting podiums for all three classes as well. And when I say the top three interview, actually it's the top three in Class B that we'll be interviewing, because those are the ones that are pulled through immediately to the 1, 2, 3 boards that are positioned towards the podium. But so we'll be doing a podium for Class B, a podium for Class C, and a podium for Class D. So got a chunk to get through. So Charlie Polk already into position. I can see that Michael Rawlings is just feeding his way through to park up in front of the number 2 board, and the number 3 board will be reserved for the car that finished third in Class B, which is the Jack Wright and Matt Allat car. So everybody else, I think, is just being held in Parc Fermé for the moment. So Charlie's about to jump out of the car, and then we can grab a word with our race winner. Charlie, well done, congratulations, that was a win. But if you were looking in your mirrors with 5 minutes to go, the Reeds in their Mini were on the way.
Yeah, I saw it. I had brake problems, but I drove through it and I kept looking behind. I thought I might have to re-engage, and I saw after the chicane that he'd gone missing on the track. So yeah, it was getting a bit close. So yeah.
What were the brake problems exactly? A long pedal?
Exactly that, yeah. So you go down to the old hairpin and there's no pedal there. It's a bit disconcerting. So yeah, we found a way around it eventually. So yeah, it was great fun.
Just having to pump the pedal to try and get the pressure back?
Exactly, or just try to remember to do it as well. So yeah.
2 wins now in the Scirocco, back to back as well. Brands Hatch in here.
It is. It makes up for yesterday as well, so we won't go there. So yeah, it's very good and enjoyed today. So especially with tricky conditions.
I was avoiding the subject of yesterday. We'll focus on today. What was it like out there? Did it evolve as the race went on?
Yeah, it started to have a dry line around some of the corners. Bit greasy somewhere, but yeah, you have to find it every lap you went round. So it was good fun, and I've got it back in one piece as well. So that's a good thing.
Well done. We'll get you on the podium in a short while. Let's grab a quick word with Michael Rawlings, who finished in 2nd place. Michael, we're expecting a great start from the rear-wheel drive BMW, but it was the Lotus that threaded the needle.
Yeah, it was a bit of a tough start, to be fair, but we got there. It was had a few issues with 5th gear, but to be honest, it's really slick out there, and I'm happy to come with 2nd, to be fair. It's a good laugh, and Charlie's one to catch anyway, so I'm happy with that. Yeah, really slippy, really slippy.
You stuck with the task in hand for a good period of time, though.
Yeah, I thought I wasn't going to give him a run for his money, wasn't I? No, it was good. It was good race, yeah.
On to the next one?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Holton Park, here we go.
Looking forward to it, well done. And let's grab a quick word with the driver pairing that finished 3rd in Class B, Jack Wright and Matt Allat. Matt started behind the wheel of the car. Matt, you started behind the wheel of the car, so you got the track when it was at its wettest.
Yeah, first time I've really driven when it's wet like this, so it was a bit of a handful, let's say, but I kind of got my feet, handed it over to Jack in a bit of a poor position, and here we are. So yeah, he done mega, absolute brilliant driving from Jack. It was good fun, but yeah, Jack's just great.
You had your role to play as well. So Jack, plaudits coming in your direction. You had a good little squabble trying to peel your way through and past Dad at one point.
Oh, that is one of my favourite things to do. It's going from the back and get yourself up to the front again. You know, Matty is new to racing, never raced in the wet. First time in a rear-wheel drive race, in any race car, never mind a rear-wheel drive one. So in the wet, it was a handful for him. It's all learning. Yeah, brought it in, stayed on track, brought it in. I don't know where we went out. I think it was 15th or something. So I just knew I had to get my head down. It was slippy, very slippy. Get my head down, start picking him off. I had a little incident coming into Foggies where I caught the big sausage. Fucking spun me off a little bit, but got back on again and yeah, brought it home. I think I managed to get fastest lap at the end, which Matty was saying down the radio, "Don't be trying to push too hard." I was like, no, let's go for it. So yeah, good fun.
only one way to drive it, isn't it? It's the only way you know, the only way you know. So we'll get our podium underway. I think we just wait for confirmation from Andy that we are good to go with the podium, are we? Right, super stuff. So we'll start then with the top three in reverse order in Class B. So onto the podium, if you will, please. Finishing in third position, we've just spoken to Jack Wright and Matt Allett. Onto the podium, gentlemen, for finishing in third position in Class B. They self-serve with their trophies, and Gary Hawkins is there to take the photographs. Finishing second in Class B, it's Michael Rawlings. Well done to Michael as he heads up onto step number 2 of the podium. Pops the overalls on so he's suitably dressed for the photographs to be taken, and receives the congratulations of his fellow drivers in Class B. Photograph taken of him stood there with his trophy, and then we'll get up the driver that claims the win overall and the win in Class B. 2 back-to-back now for Charlie Polk. Well done to Charlie. So there we go, a photograph's being taken of our top 3 in Class B. Don't disappear, Andy, because I'll need your phone again, because I can't remember who's on the next podium. So congratulations to our top 3 in Class B. We'll now get up the top 3 drivers in Class C, and in reverse order, finishing in third place in Class C. Onto the podium, if you will, please, Tommy Valentine. Well done to Tommy as he heads up onto the third step of the podium, and Andy's going to present him with his trophy. He's disappeared again now. You need to come back this way because I can't remember. Finishing second in Class C. Congratulations to Cameron McLean. Well done to Cameron as he makes his way onto the podium. Finishing second in Class 2. Shakes the hand of Tommy Valentine. And the top step of the podium, if you will please, the winner of Class C, Wayne Cockrell. Well done to Wayne, who finished third overall in the race, but scoops up the win in Class C. He receives his trophy and stands on the top step of the podium. We'll get the ball bunched up on the top step for the photographs to be taken, and then we can move on with the top 3 in Class D. And thank you very much. So our winner in Class D we'll bring up onto the podium in last place. So we'll start with third place in Class D. Onto the podium, if you will, please, Camel Kelsey and Aidan Hills. Well done. Camel starting behind the wheel of the car, Aidan taking over in part 2. They hop up onto the third step of the podium. Finishing in second position in Class D, it's Stephen Arant. Well done to Stephen as he makes his way up onto the second step of the podium. And the top step of the podium and the win in Class D goes the way of George Wright. Well done to George. Even cheers himself as he heads up onto the top step of the podium, shakes the hand of his fellow Class D drivers, picks up his winner's trophy, stands on his tiptoes and holds it aloft, and then we'll bunch them all up onto the top step of our Donington Park podium. And then with the final photographs being taken, big smiles all around. George milking it as always. That concludes our podium presentations for the Trackday Trophy, and that concludes our live racing action from the Trackday Trophy. It's been thoroughly enjoyable here at Donington Park. Hopefully we'll catch up with Trackday Trophy later on in the year. So until next time, we'll say goodbye.